The 10 Worst Horror Movies, 2010 to 2011. Not all horror movies manage to haunt our nights. Some fail miserably, becoming true cinema monsters for the wrong reasons. Today, you'll get to know the 10 worst horror movies released between 2010 and 2011. Prepare yourself to enter a world of dark disappointments. Number 10. My Soul to Take 2010. Rating 4.7. Wes Craven tries to create a new iconic killer, but the film fails in its execution. The story of a serial killer returning from the beyond to haunt 7 teenagers with a secret struggles to establish an emotional connection, and is marked by a confusing script and weak performances. Many consider it one of Craven's worst works, a big name in horror. Number 9. The Rite 2011. Rating 6.0. Inspired by real events. The film follows Michael, a skeptical seminarian who learns about exorcisms at the Vatican under the guidance of a veteran priest. Although the premise is interesting, the film suffers from a lack of suspense and originality, with generic exorcism scenes and a superficial script. Even Anthony Hopkins' presence can't save the film. Number 8. The Last Exorcism, 2010. Rating 5.7. A pastor who conducts fraudulent exorcisms decides to document his last case, but ends up confronting a real possession. The interesting premise fails due to poor execution, with underdeveloped characters and an abrupt ending. The attempt to blend horror with found footage doesn't work, resulting in an inconsistent experience. Number 7. Paranormal Activity 2, 2010. Rating 5.6. The sequel to Paranormal Activity tries to expand the story but repeats the same tricks from the first film, like doors slamming and sudden noises. The lack of creativity and predictable scares made the sequel much less impactful. Despite this, the film was a box office success. Number 6. Fright Night 2011. Rating 6.3. In this 1985 remake, a teenager discovers that his neighbor is a vampire and seeks help from an illusionist. Despite a talented cast, the film fails to capture the charm of the original, with a dull mix of horror and comedy. The direction doesn't deliver anything memorable. Number 5. The Crazies 2010. Rating 6.5. In a small town, a virus turns the residents into killers. The 2010 remake tries to create a paranoid atmosphere, but falls into cliches and doesn't stand out in the pandemic genre. Despite some tense scenes, the film doesn't leave a lasting impact. Number 4. The Covenant 2011. Rating 5.8. After her mother's death, Annie returns to the family home and uncovers dark secrets tied to a supernatural pact. The film blends psychological horror with supernatural elements, but fails to balance the two, becoming generic and underwhelming. Number 3. Insidious 2010. Rating 6.8. The story of a family dealing with paranormal phenomena after their son falls into a coma is full of memorable scenes. However, the second half of the film loses focus, and the narrative becomes confusing. The film divides opinions, with some praising it and others criticizing its lack of cohesion. Number 2. Apollo 18, 2011. Rating 5.2. Filmed in a found footage style, Apollo 18 imagines a lunar mission where the astronauts encounter something terrifying on the moon. The concept is interesting, but the execution is slow and filled with ineffective scares, making the experience monotonous. The film also suffers from a weak plot. Number 1. Shutter Island 2010. Rating 8.2. Directed by Martin Scorsese. This psychological thriller follows 2 detectives investigating the disappearance of a patient at an isolated psychiatric hospital. Despite its popularity, many consider the plot predictable and dependent on cliché twists, leaving the emotional impact lacking. Horror teaches us that not all nightmares are worth revisiting. These films show us that even the darkness can fail to scare us. Which one do you consider the most terrifying? Let us know in the comments. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell to receive new videos. Until the next descent into the shadows,